Thomas Erikson, Surrounded by Narcissists. These days, narcissists are everywhere. Along with politicians and social media influencers, you can probably think of at least a couple of narcissists that you know personally. Maybe you're sick of a self-obsessed friend, or you're losing patience with your partner's manipulative tendencies. Luckily, behavior expert Thomas Erikson has identified some helpful strategies for dealing with narcissistic behavior. We'll cover a few of these techniques, which you can use at any time with any narcissist. You probably won't be able to change them, but if you can recognize certain behaviors and learn how to react, you'll avoid getting manipulated and potentially hurt. Blink 1 of 6. You probably know quite a few narcissists. When you hear the word narcissist, what qualities come to mind? Vanity, perhaps? Self-obsession? As you may know, the term narcissist comes from a Greek myth about a handsome young man. Narcissus was so beautiful that everyone who saw him fell in love with him. But no one loved Narcissus more than he loved himself. In one version of the myth, Narcissus sits by a pond, gazing lovingly at his own reflection. He's so obsessed that he stays there until he starves to death. So, yes, self-obsession is part of it. But narcissism is a complicated personality disorder. There's more to it than just liking yourself a little too much. Also, in real life, the victims of narcissists are usually other people. Thomas Erikson, the author of Surrounded by Narcissists, wants to help us avoid becoming victims. First, he says, we need to know how to recognize narcissists. The ones you encounter won't be handsome young men staring at their reflection in a pond. There'll be people more like Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Linda is a college student in her 20s. When you first meet her, she seems like a pretty average person from a stable background. She has doting parents and a wide circle of friends. At least that's the impression you get from her social media. But let's get to know Linda a little better. How does she treat her loved ones? Here's one example. Whenever her mother gently suggests that she deal with her own dirty laundry for a change, this is how Linda reacts.
But I'm so stressed out right now. You can't expect me to do chores when I have so much going on at work.
Her mother sighs and gives in. Linda gets her way. She knows how to manipulate her friends too, and her boyfriend, and her college professors. No one is immune. Linda is your standard everyday narcissist, the narcissist next door. You probably know a Linda or someone who has other narcissistic traits. It might be a coworker who's quick to criticize others, but blows up if you offer them honest feedback. Or it could be the friend who only wants to talk about themselves. It may even be your partner or someone in your family. Maybe you've noticed that this person can be deceitful at times, and even manipulative. Think about it for a moment. Do you know someone who behaves like that? I'm willing to bet on it. Blink 2 of 6. Narcissists hurt people and are very unlikely to change. As you reflect on Linda and the people you know, you might be wondering, are narcissists really that bad? Sure, Linda's annoying, but it's not like she's a violent psychopath. She's not dangerous, right? Well, it depends on how you define dangerous. Narcissists can certainly be psychologically dangerous. Cheating, lying, manipulating, gaslighting, love bombing, playing mind games. This is harmful behavior that can damage people's mental health. And it's especially damaging to those of us who have close emotional relationships with narcissists. For example, people who were once romantically involved with a narcissist sometimes refer to themselves as survivors. The person who initially seemed charming, showering them with gifts and affection, later turned out to be cold, critical, and manipulative. So, yes, to go back to that question from earlier, narcissists really are that bad. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. They can't be cured. You see, narcissism is a personality disorder, not an illness. 1 to 2% of the population are estimated to have narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. Although there are various types of treatment for NPD, including psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, there's no evidence that any of them actually work. True narcissists, people who actually have NPD, can't be cured. Maybe there's some hope for other narcissists, meaning people who display narcissistic tendencies but don't actually have the disorder. However, it's doubtful. In order for a person to change, they need to want to change. Ask a narcissist if they want to be cured, and their response is likely to be, cured from what? After all, they benefit from manipulating other people. What do you think, Linda? Do you want to change?
What? Are you serious? I should change? I'm not doing anything wrong.
Notice that, like many narcissists, Linda has high self-esteem. Honestly, there's no point in trying to change her. For the most part, narcissists can't be changed. You may be able to ask or encourage someone exhibiting narcissistic tendencies to improve their behavior for some period of time, but if you aren't seeing any change, this might end up hurting you. So let's save our energy for a different strategy, which we'll get to in just a moment. Blink 3 of 6. Self-awareness will help you when dealing with narcissists. Maybe you're still not entirely convinced of the risks posed by narcissists. As long as you don't let yourself get manipulated, what's the problem? The problem is this. To a certain degree, everyone is susceptible to narcissists. They're masters of manipulation, and even experts get taken in. For example, Erikson tells a story about a researcher. For some reason or another, this researcher decided to lend his Mercedes to a narcissist who had just been released from prison. Unsurprisingly, the researcher never saw his car again. Narcissists prey on everyone, but especially their opposites, empaths. Empathetic people are easy targets because they're more likely to respond to a narcissist's call for help. An empath will believe a narcissist when they're playing the victim. Eventually, the empath becomes the victim. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing situation. So far, we've been looking outwards, focusing on the common characteristics of narcissists. But now it's time to look inwards and do a little self-reflection. Before you confront the narcissist in your life, you need to know exactly what your own strengths and weaknesses are. For this, we're going to use the color system. If you're familiar with Erikson's other books, such as Surrounded by Idiots or Surrounded by Setbacks, you might already know how this works. If not, no problem. Let's go through it quickly now. The color system is part of a behavior assessment known as DISC, D-I-S-C. Essentially, it's a way of categorizing the different personality types. There are 4 colors: red, yellow, green, and blue. Each one corresponds with a different kind of personality. Reds are fact-focused extroverts. They're very driven and good at problem solving, but they have to be in control. When they feel like they're losing control, Reds freak out. Then there are yellows. They're extroverts too, but they're more focused on relationships. They're optimists who enjoy interacting with others. Yellows don't cope well with isolation or rejection. Next, greens. They're relationship-focused introverts who tend to be kind and caring. Greens are mainly afraid of change and conflict. And finally, there are blues. Blues are fact-focused introverts. They're thoughtful and conscientious, but they also have a weakness, a fear of public humiliation. Now, you might be wondering why all this matters, and what does it have to do with handling narcissists? Well, different colors tend to react differently when faced with narcissistic behavior. Also, because narcissists are such skilled manipulators, they tend to take advantage of people's weaknesses. If you're already aware of your own weaknesses and how you're likely to behave in certain situations, you'll be better prepared. So, before we move on, pause for a moment and think about which color you identify with most. Here they are again. Red is extroverted and fact-focused. Yellow, extroverted and relationship-focused. Green, introverted and relationship-focused. And blue, introverted and fact-focused. Which one are you? Blink 4 of 6. Call out manipulative behavior or take a break from the conversation. Let's say you're red, for example. When you feel like you're losing control of the situation, you can get pretty worked up. Narcissists like Linda know this, and they know how to use your emotions against you. It's a form of manipulation. As you talk to Linda about a problem with her behavior, maybe you start getting angry. You raise your voice slightly.
I knew this would happen. You're always yelling.
Maybe you feel bad about this aspect of your personality. You don't like how you're easily angered. But notice what Linda has just done. She's shifted the focus of the conversation. Or, if you're a sensitive green, you might react differently when talking to Linda. Instead of losing your temper, maybe you get nervous and tongue-tied.
Ugh, talking to you is impossible. It's like you're too scared to have a proper conversation.
You were originally talking about something else, maybe something that Linda did. But now, it's all about your emotions and your weaknesses. See what she did there? This is manipulative behavior. But how should you respond? In the heat of the moment, it can be difficult to know what to do. Here's something you can try. When Linda uses your emotions against you, call her out on it. Try to keep your cool. Say to her calmly, "Linda, I feel like you're trying to manipulate me." Of course, Linda won't admit to being manipulative, but at least you'll have made it clear that you can see through her. Alternatively, here's a technique that's even easier. When you notice that Linda is being manipulative, simply pause the conversation. It's easier to do this if you're talking on the phone. Say something like, "Someone's coming. Gotta go." Or, "Oh, sorry, my battery's dying. I'll have to call you back." Don't ask for permission and don't worry that you're being rude. You're not. Pausing a face-to-face conversation is a little trickier. If you're in the same room as Linda, make up an excuse. Maybe you have to go to the bathroom or reply to an urgent email on your phone. You can even tell Linda directly that you need time. Tell her, "I'm going to need some time to think about that. I'll get back to you." Give yourself a moment to breathe and some time to think. That way, you won't get wound up or manipulated into doing what Linda wants. If you're an impulsive red or yellow, pausing may not come naturally to you, but it's definitely worth a try. When you feel like you're at risk of being manipulated, sometimes the best thing to do is take a break. Walk away, and the narcissist is no longer in control. Blink 5 of 6. Set boundaries and, if necessary, cut ties to break free from a narcissist. Now you know how to handle a conversation with a narcissist. Unfortunately, though, it's unlikely to be a one-off. If someone has been manipulative once, they're bound to do it again. That's why you'll need some additional methods for dealing with narcissists. Next, we'll look at how to set boundaries. Let's say the narcissist is your partner. The following approach works for other narcissists too, but in this scenario, imagine it's your partner. They can be manipulative at times, but what really bothers you is how critical they are. That's another common trait that narcissists have, by the way. So you've had enough of your partner's behavior, but you don't want to break up. Not just yet, anyway. You're going to give them one more chance. First, explain that you plan to put more emphasis on your own needs. Then, tell your partner how you expect to be treated. You can say, "My needs matter too. I want to be treated with respect from now on." Next, set boundaries. Give examples of unacceptable behavior and make it clear you will no longer tolerate it. Try saying, "I've had enough of being criticized for every little thing. I won't put up with it." Then, ask your partner to recognize that your needs or opinions may be different from theirs. Try saying, "You may not always agree with my point of view, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong." Explain that you expect the relationship to improve now that you've set these boundaries. You can say, "I think I've made my feelings clear, so things should get better, right?" Finally, ask your partner to confirm that they've understood and to promise that they're going to make an effort. You can say, "Do you understand what I've just said? Are you going to try to change?" And that's all there is to it. Basically, you're establishing a framework. You're telling your partner what has to change in order for the relationship to work. Then, after that, if your partner continues to treat you badly, walk away. Remember, true narcissists can't change. Do you really want to maintain a relationship with someone like that? You can pause the conversation or set boundaries as many times as you like, but the narcissist will always be, well, a narcissist. Maybe they can't help the way they are, but that doesn't mean that you have to suffer. Also, keep in mind the boundary conversation only really works with partners, friends, and family. If you have a narcissistic boss, for example, it's hard to dictate the terms of the relationship. So, what are your other options? Distance works. Distance yourself from the narcissist both physically and emotionally so you don't get hurt. As a last resort, you may even have to cut ties. Quit your job, break up with your partner, stop responding to your friends' messages. And please, don't feel bad about cutting a narcissist out of your life. You have the right to protect your emotional well-being. Blink 6 of 6. Worryingly, society is becoming more narcissistic. Okay, so you can break up with a partner or cut ties with a friend. But what if you feel like you're literally surrounded by narcissists? It's not just the people you know personally. Many politicians, fame-hungry influencers on Instagram, reality TV stars. Narcissism is everywhere. True, narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, may only affect 1 to 2% of people. But it's been estimated that up to 20% of the population behaves in a narcissistic way. In The Narcissism Epidemic, a book published in 2009, the psychologists Twenge and Campbell argue that narcissism is becoming dangerously widespread in U.S. culture. Even people who don't have NPD are behaving in narcissistic ways. So, in essence, narcissism has become normalized, and it's on the rise. If you're wondering why, well, so is Erikson. Most likely, it's a combination of factors. Social media obviously has something to do with it. Less obvious, perhaps, is the role of the self-help industry. For example, think of the message of Rhonda Byrne's bestseller, The Secret, which was published in 2006. You can have anything you want, says Byrne, as long as you want it enough. The idea of getting something for nothing is very appealing to narcissists. And when these kinds of beliefs are normalized, society becomes increasingly narcissistic. Erikson thinks we should be worried not just about the narcissists we know, but also collective narcissism. Any group can be collective narcissists. They might form around a political ideology, a faith, or even a sports team. Collective narcissists want their group to be accepted by others without question. They want people not to just agree with them, but to admire them. And if you're not part of the group, watch out. For example, a decade ago, there was a scientific study on collective narcissism which involved some participants from the US. These participants were asked to read an interview with a foreign exchange student. The student expressed a negative opinion of some aspects of the US. After reading the interview, the collective of American participants criticized the student's nation. The group attacked an entire nation on the basis of a single individual's comments. And there's a twist. After the study, the participants were told the interview had been made up. The foreign student wasn't real, and neither were his negative comments about the US. Despite this, some of the participants were still agitated. The truth didn't seem to matter to them. So, as you can see, collective narcissism has some troubling implications. Culturally, there's no quick fix. But what about protecting ourselves on an individual level? The good news is that it's easier than you think. If you're dealing with a group of collective narcissists, you can use some of the same methods you would use with an individual narcissist. Take a break. Distance yourself. In practical terms, that might mean a digital detox and staying off social media. Erikson also recommends keeping an eye out for disturbing behavioral patterns and avoiding certain groups. You may be surrounded by narcissists, but remember, you don't have to engage with them. You've just listened to our blink to Surrounded by Narcissists by Thomas Erikson. The most important thing to remember from all this is that narcissists cause psychological damage and are probably incapable of change. But you can change the way you react to narcissists. If creating distance or setting boundaries doesn't work, don't let yourself be hurt and manipulated. Cut the narcissist out of your life and break free once and for all. And here's some more actionable advice. Make sure there are other people around. Narcissists have a weak spot. They want to be admired. They care about other people's opinions. So if you're worried about being manipulated, try to draw other people into the conversation rather than talking to the narcissist one-on-one. You could even postpone the discussion until you're in a group setting. The narcissist will find it harder to manipulate you if there are witnesses. Thanks so much for listening. Please let us know what you thought of this content by giving The Blink a rating and leaving us some feedback. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy other titles in our library, and I look forward to your attentive ears in the next Blink.